Hey, small business people and lovers of good stories in general. Welcome to episode 11 of Small Business War Stories. And today I talked to Steve Munoz of Duncan Munoz Business Machines. And Steve is the last remaining typewriter repair person in all of Central Texas. He's like Highlander, but for typewriters. And he's awesome. And he has some really cool stories about what it's like to run his business and what it's like to try to find somebody to teach his art to. It's kind of a lost art of typewriter repair, and he talks about that. And he also talks about how he gets customers, and he has some cool stories about his trade. Today's episode is brought to you by Proven. Proven.com is a small business hiring tool where you can distribute your job to over 100 job boards, and then you can check all your candidates on your phone or on your computer and collaborate with people in your business. And there's a free trial, so there's no commitments. You can basically go in and try it for free. There are no subscriptions, and this tool is used by thousands of businesses nationwide. And I'm biased because I founded it, but it's a great software tool to hire people for your small business. And also look out in the next few weeks, we're going to start airing episodes from the Soul of America tour, where my puppy Muddy Waggers and I went from Austin, Texas, all the way up to Saginaw, Michigan, and then back down to the Soul of America, talking to different business owners. We have lots and lots of good stories from that, and that is coming up in just a few weeks. For now, enjoy Steve Munoz and episode 11 of Small Business War Stories. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes. And we are live here with Small Business War Stories, episode 011 here. And it's my pleasure and honor to be here with Steve Munoz of Duncan Munoz Business Machines. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you.
And what's interesting about Steve is I met Steve because I picked up an old, beautiful 1949 typewriter at a Goodwill store, and I thought that I would be able to repair it myself. And of course, I was sorely mistaken once I started getting in there, and I lubricated a few parts and got a few things moving that weren't moving before. But when you open up a typewriter, you realize there are thousands of parts inside of these things, and I decided to find an expert. So I found Steve, and Steve, tell me a little bit more. When the first time I met you, you told me that you are the last remaining typewriter repair person in Central Texas. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How did you get into this business?
Back when I was 18 years old, I delivered the typewriters and business machines back to the customer after the technicians repaired them. And when there was nothing to do, I just scoped them out.
Okay.
And then they made me take apart the machines and put them in the vat.
Uh-huh.
And went on from there, and I just learned.
Cool. So how long have you been working on typewriters and business machines in some way?
41 years.
41 years.
Yes.
Wow. So you've probably seen a lot in this business.
A lot has changed.
A lot of change. So tell me a little bit more about that. How have you seen the world of typewriters evolve?
Well, in typewriters, not so much. In fact, they thought they were going to be obsolete about 15, 20 years ago.
Uh-huh.
But they're still around, and parts are still around. So typewriter hasn't changed at all.
Okay, but what about the business of repairing them?
But that hasn't changed.
Uh-huh.
It's still the same, especially with manual typewriters.
Yeah.
But now fax machines, printers, and them, they've changed. They've come a long ways.
Yeah.
And we go to schools for about a week and learn the new. But in theory, everything's the same.
Yeah.
So really, I just go by experience is what it is.
Cool. So tell me more. So a typewriter is an incredibly complex machine, and it's almost like watchmaking. What is it like once you open up a typewriter and start testing all the little machines? Maybe take me into your world for a minute here and tell me what that's like.
Well, my wife says that we're like doctors.
Okay.
Like surgeons, because it's pretty much what we do. We tear it apart because a typewriter can have one problem and 6 different things is what's causing it.
Right.
So you got to work your way down, eliminate, process of elimination. Okay, you get rid of this, at least 5 things, and get rid of that until you get to the bottom line.
Okay.
And it is very, very hard in the beginning.
Okay.
But if you just carry on and learn, that's the main thing. You have to want to learn.
Yeah.
And when you do, you will succeed in it. But it takes a long time.
Right. So now we've seen a kind of a resurgence of analog media. So you've seen more people going back to listening to vinyl records. You've seen more people going back to listening to cassette tapes, writing on paper with their hands. Yeah. And typewriters have also been a part of that. Have you seen more customers come in the past, say, 5-10 years than were maybe in the 90s?
Going back to the typewriter?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. A lot of people are basically your home people, but businesses are also starting to buy typewriters.
Interesting.
Due to all the hacking going on.
Tell me more about that.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, lawyers and CPAs and people like that who don't want something on the computer will type it up, and you can always shred that piece of paper.
Right.
Therefore, but on the computer, it's there for good.
It's there for good. So it's almost like one of those spy movies where you want to have things typed up instead of saved so that you can't get the information.
Exactly.
Interesting. So you're seeing, tell me more about the kind of businesses that are doing this. So you said law firms.
Law firms, CPAs, title companies, doctors. All kinds
for
of
medical. Yeah, for medical.
Medical,
purposes.
yeah.
That's great.
So, yeah, and then there's the people like you.
Yeah.
Who just want an antique typewriter and want to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
And there's a manual typewriter revolution going on. I don't know why, but it is nationwide. And they're just buying them like crazy.
Yeah. So what happened to your competitors? So you used to have competitors, and you are now the only remaining one in Central Texas.
Right.
Tell me more. What happened?
Well, Mr. Wizard, I think he had health issues.
Uh-huh.
And then Austin Typewriter and Computer, their only technician, one that I trained, went and found I guess you would call it a regular job.
Okay.
And the others just got older and closed up.
Okay.
Therefore, that left just me for Central Texas.
Yeah, and you were telling me, so it's interesting, you just told me about somebody you trained, and the first time we met, you were telling me that it's becoming this lost art, and that it's very difficult to find people who are interested in repairing these machines, because today, a lot of machines are made to be thrown away.
Yes.
But you still do have some higher quality things, so tell me more about that process. How have you gone about looking for somebody to teach your art to?
Well, I've tried at the high schools. They have those vocational programs.
Right.
I didn't get nothing from them.
Okay.
And then basically it's people who come in and don't have a job.
Okay.
And they're interested. Most people are like you, very interested in what would you say? Wonder about how do you do this? There's so many parts.
Yeah.
And they're inquisitive, and those kind of people are what I'm looking for.
Right.
But today's kids, they just don't want to work. Bottom line, they like the money.
Yeah,
but they don't want to work.
Well, it's very much an art. So for me, I like to build guitars and repair guitars in my spare time, which is why I thought that I could get into the typewriter.
Right.
I understand. And then that's when I realized that what took you a week would have taken me about a year and a half. So that's why we're exchanging some dollars today. And thank you so much for doing a great job with my 1949 Royal.
You're welcome.
Cool. What's something that most people don't know about the typewriter business?
Basically, it's to use them. You know, they know how to type on them, but they don't know. A lot of them don't know how to paper insert.
Right.
Some of these typewriters have automatic paper insert.
Okay.
And people don't know how to use that.
Yeah.
They don't even know it's there. And how to change the ribbons.
Interesting.
They don't know.
Have you ever thought about maybe making videos on YouTube about showing this kind of stuff?
I have.
Yeah, you should do it.
Yeah, I do. I was in one called, can't remember what it was called, but it showed people how to fax out of the country.
Yeah.
And they videotaped it, and it's on the computer.
Yeah.
Kind of like a do-it-yourself thing.
Yeah.
And
maybe, yeah, that would be an interesting opportunity for you to share some of your knowledge. Maybe that's how we find you. One of my goals for today is to see if we can get a few people to, who are interested in this kind of work to contact you. So maybe that would be a good way to help people find you is through putting yourself out there and making videos.
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I'd like to, but being the only one,
yeah,
I'm pretty busy.
I bet.
I don't have time right now, but if I could there is a young kid out there who's interested in, he calls it shadowing. He wants to just shadow me.
Yeah, what's his name?
Adrian.
Adrian, if you're listening to Small Business War Stories,
yeah,
come shadow Steve.
And he doesn't have any wheels, though, but he's the closest thing I've gotten to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
And he doesn't realize it, but if he does learn the trade,
yeah,
he'll have a career for the rest.
Have a career for life. And I'm sure that it's not just typewriters, like you said. You're involved in all kinds
cash
of
registers, copiers, everything.
Yeah.
The more you learn different things,
yeah,
the more you have a better chance of getting a job anywhere.
Right.
There's a lot of colleagues of mine that are just, they know the HP printer, and that's it. They never learn cash registers, shredders, laminators, folding machines, calculators, typewriters. That's all they know. It's like tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And I learned it all.
So you're a lifelong student. Tell me about something that maybe you're learning right now that you didn't know and that you've been learning the last few months that's been interesting to you.
There's always something that you learn.
Yeah.
That's the one good thing about this field.
Yeah.
There's a challenge, a different challenge every day.
Okay.
I've been doing it for 41 years, and I still encounter some machines that'll leave me baffled. I go to bed thinking about it.
Right.
That goes to show you that you never get bored.
Yeah. Can you tell me an example of something you learned maybe in the last couple of months, something that surprised you that you broke through?
Yeah, kind of like your machine.
My machine?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is getting personal. Okay.
Yeah, your machine, I had never seen it before.
Okay.
And you know how it wouldn't move?
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out. And there's the one I went to bed with.
Wow.
And I finally saw it in the back, of all places. It was missing 2 screws. Oh,
wow.
And I put those screws in, and boom, that took care of that.
On the carriage strap part? Or not?
On the where we put the drawband, that mainspring, it was missing 2 screws to hold that drawband.
Oh, that's why I wouldn't get enough tension.
Exactly.
God, there we go.
I tried everything.
Yeah.
Until I was running out of ideas, and then and it just goes. That's what I'm talking about. The challenge every day.
Yeah.
And it amazed me that 2 screws could fix this.
Absolutely. Well, I'm telling you,
it did. So you would have gotten into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So you saved me maybe a year and a half as a conservative estimate.
Maybe never.
2 to 3
Maybe
years.
never.
Yeah. Well, now I have a beautiful machine to write songs on. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about customer acquisition. So that's a big challenge for a lot of small businesses. How do you go about finding your customers?
Okay. Well, for one, I don't have to do any advertising.
Okay.
Because we've been in business 68 years.
68. That's quite a bit of time.
Here in Austin. And so most of my customers have been lifelong.
Okay.
And then the best advertisement that there is out there is the word of mouth.
Right.
That's the best. It's free.
Yeah.
And it's also very true.
Yeah.
People speak of Duncan Munoz office machines and then you'd be surprised at parties and whatever. Somebody brings up, I got this old typewriter, and boom, he says, take it to so-and-so. He's the best.
Yep.
I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying that's what people say.
Yeah.
And that and Google is the only advertising I do.
Okay.
Because we've been around so long that
it's
just even newcomers that move into the city ask questions to their neighbors.
Yeah.
And the neighbor says, well, this guy has this and this and this. Go see him.
Okay, so
It's all word
you
of
do
mouth.
advertise on Google.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, tell me more about that. So what's your strategy with Google advertising?
Google just has what I just said, how long we've been here,
Yeah.
what we do, the directions
Yeah.
to the place and phone number. And every month I get a report from them, and like 700 people look me up.
Yeah.
20 people looked up the directions.
Yeah.
And 10 people actually call. It tells me. So.
Yeah. Wow.
And there's a lot of people hitting me. So that's all I need, really.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's how I found you, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Very cool. So what's maybe the oddest or wackiest thing that you've probably seen so much and so many different types of customers. Is there a particular wacky story that comes to mind?
Yeah, there's one that when I first started, the carrier, as it moves, as you're typing, it goes across and, moves from left to right.
Right.
Well, this one woman had problems that every time that she was typing,
Yeah.
it would go skip on her.
Okay.
So I delivered it to the technicians. They couldn't find anything wrong.
Yeah.
I took it back to her, and she said she's having the same problem. So I picked it up, took it back to the technicians. Could never find anything wrong. We kept it for 3-4 days. Everybody typed on it. So they said, just take it back. Tell her we can't find anything wrong. So I did. And I was standing, behind her to see how it skipped.
Yeah.
And it did. So, but this time I stood in front of her.
Okay.
And it was skipping, and I saw why. And it was her boobs were hitting the space bar.
That's a very specific problem.
So I simply moved the desk back.
Yeah.
And then I said, type on it now.
Yeah, and then it started working.
It started working.
Love it.
And she said,
yeah.
And I just told her she was very well endowed.
Yeah, there you go. She used it as a way to compliment her. That is definitely a wacky story. It's one of those.
that was I was like 18, and I said, I like this business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me, how do you want your brand to grow in the next 10 years? How do you want to continue to develop?
Until I find an apprentice,
Yeah.
I can't grow anymore. I really can't.
Yeah.
But if I get some help,
Yeah.
then
We got to get Adrian in here.
you got to get Adrian in here.
Yeah.
And then if he turns out to be what I need, and have somebody be able to go out and do the service calls, because we go out and do them out there too. And then I would look.
You mean use service calls where you go out to other businesses?
Yeah, I go to
on
lawyers
site?
and doctors and everybody,
Yeah.
and construction companies. And so you get the one good thing is you meet a lot of secretaries,
Yeah.
a lot of women,
There you go.
but you meet different people. You have to be good with people
Yeah.
in this business. But if I do, I would just like to grow. You don't ever want to get too big for yourself.
Right.
Because then you're looking for trouble.
Right.
So I just want to stay mid, and then possibly do some more advertising. If I have to.
Great. Do you have a website?
I do not.
You do not. Maybe that would be a great step to.
I know, but if I created a website now,
Yeah.
I'd be flooded.
You'd be flooded with too much.
Yeah.
So you're almost artificially keeping demand low because you don't have an apprentice.
Exactly.
So your biggest bottleneck, again, we need to get Adrian. Maybe we need to get a couple of Adrians in.
Yeah, a couple of Adrians.
That's good. So how long have you been in Austin for?
29 years.
29 years. Tell me how you've seen Austin change in those 29 years, and where do you see it going in the next 10 years?
Drastically,
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah.
It's basically all been for the good, with the exception of traffic. But it's technically, it's a technical town.
Yeah.
It's gotten very big. And I don't know how much bigger it can get.
Yeah. Where do you think 10 years from now, if you project it out, where do you think Austin's going?
Excuse me. I don't know. It's going too fast. I know that.
Too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're 5-6 years behind on a lot of things because they didn't expect this growth. I don't think.
Right. Right there, like you mean the infrastructure for transportation,
Yeah.
things like that.
Right.
Okay, but you see it mostly as a good thing.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It's a positive thing. It's cost of living has always been there, and it's probably going to get worse.
Right.
But the wages go along with it, so
Okay.
it makes up for it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, is there anything else that you want our audience to know? I know that you have to go pick up your daughter, and I have here my young puppy, Muddy Waggers, sitting here, who's been very patient through this podcast.
Yes, he has.
Is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about you or your business, and where can people find you?
Just that, like I said, we've been around a long time.
Yeah.
We're good at what we do, and if we can't fix it, we'll be honest.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. If to be in business for 68 years, you have to be doing something right.
Yes, sir.
And that's being honest, first and foremost.
Yeah.
With people. And they can always call me at my office, and we're here on Wagon Trail, 818 Wagon Trail.
818 Wagon Trail in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, suite number 11.
Great.
And
if any of our listeners are interested in being apprentices,
call me.
Call you.
Yes.
And your number is 512?
451 5206.
5206, because that's what we need to get Steve a website, is more people to handle the workload.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so very much for hosting me here today.
Thank you.
It's been great to have you at Small Business War Stories.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to Small Business War Stories. If you enjoy the show, share it with a friend, or you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or on our blog at blog.proven.com. If you have an idea for us, we'd love to hear it. Please email us at podcast@proven.com. See you next time. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes.